subject or thought on my mind this morning and heart is about the power of God demonstrated. The power of God demonstrated. We just had one of the most powerful hurricanes, and I'm thankful everybody's safe, but we had one of the most powerful hurricanes that hit the coast in Mexico City. Y'all stayed up, but I'm sure everybody around is interested in which way that thing is going to go. But what fascinated me out of all the news reports and things that happened here and there in different places was one thing that happened in Panama City, Florida. Anybody know what I'm talking about? You probably saw it. This newscast lady was out there and kind of telling everybody what the hurricane has done and tornadoes around have done. And there was one lady out there with a microphone, and as far as she could see this way and as far as she could see that way was a train turned upside down. I'm talking about not one car, but every car. Y'all see that? As far as the eye could see, you see good ways down the river, right? Well, one truck. What is a truck there, Berger?
Wheels on the locomotive.
The wheel. Even the trucks, the wheels were turned upside down. And each one of those cars weighed 30 tons. You understand what I'm saying? 30 tons. We got 100. We had at the railroad. We had 100 ton crane. What would that do, Brother David?
Pick up a minimum of 100.
That's a minimum of 100 tons. That is a power. Now, what really got fascinating is the lady said it. I'm trying to get into the lesson about God's power demonstrated. But what really caught my eye was they weren't close to no ocean. There was no water surge and all that. They based it on a tornado. They said it had to be a tornado that turned them upside down. Just a little small tornado can tear up something. Powerful. But that caught my eye, and I got thinking about what is power? Strength, isn't it? That's one thing you can say is, or it's a force exerted. Over in Jeremiah chapter 32:17, God's word says, "All Lord God, thou hast made the heavens and the earth by thy great power. By thy great power to stretch out the arm. Is there anything too hard for the Lord?" Great power. Was that a great power when that train? I'm talking about every car was turned upside down. That's great power of God. Man could not do that. Give me somebody, tell me an example of the great power demonstrated by God.
David, when he went against the giant, Goliath.
Well, that took the power of God to deliver him from that giant. And the lion and the bear.
I think a lot of times about how God has armies that we don't understand, and how he can bring in locusts. And we got soldiers, and they know how to fight with tanks and weapons, but you send in locusts and the whole sky turns black with locusts, we don't know how to fight that.
Fleas.
We're not used to that.
All kinds of
and that's
things.
the way Goliath was when David came up and approached him was, I don't know how to fight a kid. I'm used to fighting men. And it just blew his mind. Oh, this dog.
And the power of that rock was God did it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the exact place, exact time, it should have been done, everything. So that's great power. Is creation the great power of God? I won't go to read all of it, but in Genesis 1, 3, 6, 9, 11, and 26. Huh? Somebody said that? Hey. Genesis 1, 3, 6, 9, and 26. If you want to look at it, this shows the power of God demonstrated in creation. So David, take your little thing there and read Nehemiah 9:6 if you would, and think about creation itself. 9:6 and listen to these words. It's talking about, and keep in mind about God demonstrating His power, His strength, His exertion.
Ain't getting like me, it's getting old and slow.
I'm going to have to keep that in mind.
Nehemiah.
9:6, you got it, read it. Somebody.
Thou, even thou art Lord alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, and with all their host, the earth, and all the things that are therein, the seas, and all that is therein. And thou preservest them all, and the Lord of heaven, the host of heaven, worshipeth thee.
All right, that's far enough. Do you notice who made the heavens in Nehemiah 6? Who made the heaven and the earth and the sea? God did.
Lord did.
All right. And not only that, it says in that, I forget what verse it is, I think it's 5. It says He alone done that. He alone. You can depend on all the other gods you want to. They cannot do what the all-powerful, all-wise God can do. Never had, never. Sister Christy, how about turning to John chapter 18? Here again is a thought that comes to my mind about the very act of God's power demonstrated. In John chapter 18, 4, 5, and 6, if you would read that, please.
Jesus therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek ye?
This is when Jesus was fixing to be crucified. Okay?
They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus saith unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. And soon then, as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground.
They went backwards. The very voice of Jesus Christ in this John 18, 4, 5, and 6, the very voice, when they said what they said, he answered them and then knocked the soldiers down. So that right there would have pretty well got my attention, wouldn't you? If somebody said something that knocked me flat to the dirt. Okay, I got your message here, brother. But that ain't the way it happened. He got knocked down again. So the very voice itself, over in Psalm 62:11 says, God has spoken once and twice I heard this, that power belongs to God. What does? Power. We serve an all-powerful, all-wise God. Over and over and over in Psalm 29, I'm not going to read all those, but 1 through 11 especially, it's talking about the voice of the Lord, the voice of the Lord, the voice of the Lord. Well, that's what the voice of the Lord knocked down the soldier. Well, this is that same voice of the Lord. In verse 5, well, let me read a couple. The voice of the Lord, in verse 2, it says, 29:2, it says, the voice of the Lord is upon the waters. We're going to get into that.
Where again?
Psalm 29. The voice of the Lord are upon the waters. What waters did God do that showed His power? Did the Red Sea?
Out of the Red Sea.
What happened, Christy, to lead them up to the Red Sea? They were in what?
They was plague after plague after plague. And then
But they was in bondage.
captivity and bondage.
They were in bondage first, right?
Right.
And Moses was leading them out. Turn to Exodus 14, and we'll look at that. Exodus chapter 14. Start with verse 20. It says that it came, 14:20. It came between the camp of Egyptians, the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud of darkness to them. This is when they were coming out in the light at night to these, so that one came near and the other all the night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back. Is that the power of God demonstrated? the Lord, listen to it now, the Lord caused the sea. Who did? The Lord did. That shows the power of God right there demonstrated. And go back to a strong east wind all night and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. There's the power of God demonstrated again. And then they wound up on dry land and went across the sea, and then what happened? God closed those waters back together and drowned all the Pharaoh and his army, and their wheels come off and they're stuck in mud. But now, if they were stuck in mud, it says the children of Israel went across on dry land. You follow that? Now, they didn't go through mud. They went through dry land. And the power of God come along and closed them in. They got muddy wheels and all that, and got stuck, and maybe thousands and thousands of them out there. And then God closed it. Now, did God do that because he hated the people? No. Why did he do it, David? Why did he show that power by killing all those Egyptians?
I believe the Egyptians were serving the Pharaoh, and they had not been serving
Another God.
And God was releasing them from their bondage to Israel because God wanted them to serve him and him alone. And manifest all those plagues that the children of Israel, not only the Pharaoh and the Egyptians, but the children of Israel might see and remember that God is all powerful. You see, they hadn't seen that in 400 years. They've been in captivity. They've been worshiping and serving the Pharaoh.
They got used to it.
And so God reacquainted them with his power as he led them out of Egyptian bondage and freedom.
I think it was over in Exodus 14 when they were in verse 13 or 14 right there in that area. He told the people they were fearing. They were scared after they was out there in the desert, and they seen Pharaoh and all his army coming, and all these chariots and everything coming. And he told them, he said, just stand still. Fear, don't fear, but stand still and see what? The salvation of God. God was going to deliver them, and then the lack of faith, they had fear, didn't they? But then when they did what the Lord said, then the Lord blessed them, and he told them, he said, you just stand still. God's going to take care. Romans 8 tells us, if God be for you, who can be against you? God's for us. As long as we obey God, and as long as we're faithful to God, and obey him, then the Lord is with you. So the children of Israel, certainly in Exodus 14, was showing the power of God. If we fear, though, like they did, listen to what he tells us over here in 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power. Has God given us power, strength? I can do all things with who? Christ that strengthens me. That's power. Power. And then that 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. That's pretty well takes care of that fear, don't it? So we don't need to be uptight. We need to. Now, I got thinking about over in Joshua. Go to Joshua chapter 6. Joshua chapter 6. Have you ever had a wall that between you and God, and you had fear, and you had sickness, and you had different financial problems, and you've had marriage problems, and you've had this problem, and all these obstacles come to you, and a big wall just keeps you in the same spot, and you can't go no further. Well, in Joshua chapter 6, it teaches about a big wall. And the children of Israel were going to go into Jericho, and this big city that had walls. They claimed that they had walls within walls. You know, and it's just about impossible for anybody to penetrate that wall because of the way it was made. The walls were so wide and so thick they would act, my understanding, they'd ride chariots around and around on top of the wall. It's a pretty good sized wall, isn't it? And, well, Jericho walls, we have a lot of them. This church is full of problems and situations, and the other churches, the United States, the world itself, has these walls, these obstacles, and they come up on us. And when I read about what happened here in Joshua chapter 6, which is a wonderful, the very first chapter tells us to be of good cheer. The Lord's right there with you in chapter 1, I believe it is, and He encourages us every day. But the children of Israel were coming up on that wall, and they didn't know, Joshua, Moses had done died, and Joshua took over, from my understanding, and Joshua told them, we're going to take that. And they sent in 2 spies, and there was a harlot, a woman of ill repute, I call it. That's what she was. She was a prostitute, Rahab was. And she helped those 2 spies out. You read it. Now that's amazing how God would take a woman of ill repute and use her. You remember the one that was going to be stoned to death over there in John, I believe it was? Another prostitute girl, and Jesus stooped down, rooted in the ground, and used her for an example. Well, God used Rahab, the harlot, that's what she was, a harlot, help those spies out. And whenever they was instructed by God now what to do. You remember what all happened? Now these walls look like they was impossible to penetrate. But God is going to demonstrate His power in Joshua chapter 6. Start with verse 1 and you read on down there. They were told what to do. They said, on each one of y'all, these Israel people, he said, on each one of y'all, they had the Ark of the Covenant with the 10 Commandments in it and all that. He said, I want you to march around this big city, Jericho, and I want you to do it 1 time a day. Just keep going round and round and round once. And then he told them, he said, I want you to go around on the 7th day. I want you to go around it 7 times. And so when they obeyed God, and whenever they trusted God, and the walls fell down. That train wasn't nothing, I think, compared to what can happen, what God can do. Those walls fell down, and then they was told not to take of anything, the silver, the gold, and so forth and so on, because they belonged to God. And then later on in chapter 7, you find out that a man called Achan, how he stole the wedges of gold and so forth. But the main point is God demonstrates His power. It may be in the wind, the rain, tornadoes, or whatever. It may be the walls that are keeping you from going in and getting the reward of the kingdom today. We have a kingdom. We have a wall up there. The devil has a wall up there. But we can penetrate those walls with God's help. So we look at the voice of God is powerful, creation is powerful. Many scriptures, the walls that come to us, but God delivers us if we look to Him as the author and finisher of our faith. That's the main thing I want to say.
Think about the Ark of the Covenant, and God would tell them to have the priest to carry the Ark of the Covenant. Inside the Ark of the Covenant was the 10 Commandments, the Word of God. And you consider, as they marched against the enemy, where was the Word of God? It was always in the very front. So they had to follow the Word of God. In order to have victory, they had to follow the Word of God, because that's what they were doing literally. But if you make a spiritual application to that, we will be blessed when we follow the Word. And if you wholly follow the Lord, what the Scripture teaches. And see that as the children of Israel would follow, go into battle, they'd always put the word in front of them. They put the Ark of the Covenant in front of them.
You remember we talked about the voice, the very voice, not the soldier down? God spoke this world into existence. That's power demonstrated, both of them. Listen to what Isaiah 30 says, and I'll close out with this thought here. It says, I'm thinking about just the voice alone. It says in Isaiah 30, and the Lord shall cause his glorious what? Voice. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard. It shall show lightning down and armed with the indication of his anger, and with the flame of a devouring fire, with scattering of tempest and hailstones. For, verse 31, for through the voice of the Lord shall the Assyrians be beaten down and smoten with a rod. The very voice of God. That's powerful. And I'm thankful for scriptures like that, and know that God knocked down. He got angry in this scripture and said that he knocked them down, and he did. What happened to the Jericho wall? They got knocked down flat. And all Jesus had to do, or God had to do, is says, you stay home, Israelite people. I'll take care of this. Fall down. There you go. But he didn't do it that way. He wanted to show them what they need to do by following God and obeying God and trusting him and putting their faith in him. So that's a good point, though.